start recording there. Let's fucking go. Oh, can you put your camera down a little bit?
Can I put my camera down like that?
Yeah. Yeah, then we
Cool.
get sexy Robert Flood.
Deadly.
I might have to do it on mine, to be fair.
I've prettied myself up for this.
Ooh. This is all going. No, that's some shit. So that might be better. Maybe I can go slightly further away.
I'm gonna get right in. I'm gonna dominate the fucking frame.
Oh, you can see a laundry basket there as well, which is nice. It's good shit. It's proper good shit. Yeah, it's just a laundry basket. Anyway, hello, welcome to Netflix Landfill, the official podcast of old-timey coins. My name is Benjamin Sutton.
I'm Rob Flood.
How are you doing, Robert Flood?
Okay. Can't say much is happening. Some idiot put my number on like a man with a van request website. So I've just been getting phone calls and messages from, what's the plural of men with vens?
Men with ven is the Peep Show quote.
Oh,
so yeah.
Okay.
So you thought you came up with?
I'm basically.
No.
But no, I mean, I'm basically a professional comedy writer.
Yep,
I'm going to drop out of my job and pursue my dream. No, yeah, like one guy called me and he was like, "Are you Hannah?" And I said, "Excuse me," and he was like, "Are you Hannah?" I was like, "Well, clearly, I am not Hannah. I am a man." And he was like, "Oh, your number, is this the right number?" I was like, "No, I've no idea what you're talking about, man with van." And he was like, "Oh, well, the number on the website is this number." I was like, "What the fuck do you expect me to do?" Like, "Oh yeah, actually, I do need a man with a van. You're right." It's like, no. And yeah, getting a bunch of messages, it's really, really annoying. It's like 20 people. And there's probably someone on the other end going like, "Why the fuck is no men with ven contacting me?"
Maybe. Or maybe it's just like, I wish I could take credit for this. But it would cost money to put your thing on a website. So it's like, it's not worth the effort to put.
I think it's a free website.
Oh, maybe.
And I also got a text like, "Oh, you signed up to badger.com or some shit." I don't know, like some, could be anything.
Maybe
I'll go with this up. Where's M for messaging?
Yeah.
Yeah, some guy offering me pick up bark.com. So whatever the fuck bark.com is, I'm a member now, apparently.
Never heard of it, but tomorrow I become unemployed again. Whoop, whoop, whoop,
Oh,
whoop.
yeah.
That's my contract's over, so it's good advice for me. I'll get on that. Maybe I can become a man with a van, despite not having a driving license.
No, not even having a driving license.
Not having a driving license or a van.
You could become like a Deliveroo driver, but like you can be a walking Deliveroo driver.
Yeah,
they let you do that. So you could be.
They always complain.
You could just be
cold.
Yeah, you could be a man with vans.
Ooh.
The shoes. That's pretty fucking clever. That is a second man with a van joke.
Yeah,
Listen, man, I'm operating on a different level to you right now. I'll give you
off
that. The fucking dome. Off the fucking dome.
We're in Edinburgh, and it's very, very snowy, and vans seem like one of the worst shoes possible in that situation.
Yeah. They're skate shoes, aren't they? They're for radical. They're for Avril Lavigne, not us.
Yeah, they're for people cool. They're for people who think Converses aren't good enough for them.
Yeah. Do you ever see the skaters down at the university?
No, probably.
No.
I've probably seen them grinding.
Yeah, it's incredible
More
how
grinding than Hive nightclub.
Yeah, I really, really respect them, but it makes me like not respect skateboarding. Just seeing how shit they all are. Like I'm sure they're not shit in the scheme of things, but just they land like maybe 1 in 100 tricks.
Yeah,
and they're just there like trying it, and you just see the video online going like, "Wow, this guy's sick. Look at this fisheye lens." Listening to whatever some skater punk.
Yeah, it's got to be some mid-noughties pop punk, bit of Sum 41.
Exactly. I don't know if they still do that. I don't know.
They're not skating to anything else.
It's been years since I've watched a skate video. I don't know if the music's moved on.
I actually watched one recently because one went viral with Tony Hawk.
Oh yeah.
Because he's like 52 now, and he did either a 720 or a 1080, and was
There's a big difference between those two.
Yeah, there is. It was one of them, which is like difficult, essentially off a half pipe. I can't remember if it was 720 or 1080, but like difficult for a 52-year-old. And he said it's probably the last one he'll ever do because his body's just like not as good as it was.
Yeah, he was like the first person to do like a 900 at like the X Games or something.
It was probably a 720 then.
Okay,
but it's like he's obviously achieved all these like things as a skateboarder, and he was still like in tears the fact he could do like probably not the most complicated trick. And he still is good for 52, so fair fucks to him, even though apparently those games are bad now. So what we need is a Skate 4 is what we want, because that game was good. Skate 3 was good. Or was it Skate 2? One of the skates. But yeah, skateboarding seems like one of those things that you have to get like too good at for it to be like worth anybody's time.
And the Tony Hawk stuff where he's doing the air jumps, what they have the word for it, the ramp shit, I don't know. That's cool. The guys who do, have you ever seen them where it's all like flat ground stuff and they like do handstands on the skateboard and then they like pick it up and then they like walk with it with their hands and they're doing it all like they don't really jump or anything. They're kind of stationary doing tricks.
That's I know that's skill.
Oh yeah, it takes a remarkable amount of skill and like core strength and shit, but it's so much less cool.
Yeah, it probably is less cool. But that was the cool thing with that Tony Hawk video, is it was like 10 attempts of him just failing, which was fun.
10 is like low.
Yeah,
people do it fucking hundreds of times.
You have to remember he's like the greatest of all time. Maybe there's some, but like some.
That's only because I haven't fucking hopped on board yet.
Oh, that's true. That's true. You still got time.
Yeah,
and definitely, I'm noticing because we've got the camera up. I'm noticing how wide I am. I always forget how wide I am. This is not a body of a lean skater.
No, I'm sorry, man.
It doesn't help that I'm chubbier than I used to be because of all that lockdown comfort eating.
Yeah.
But even then, I'm too wide to skate. Maybe there's this thing of having that low center of gravity works, but I think you probably like even if I got like lean, like properly lean, I'd still be like 75 kilos, and I'm only 5'8", so that's quite heavy, and that would be me as thin.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of the camera, I hate it. Fuck this. Because I had to like, I was like just like schlubbing around all day today. Looked like shit. I was like, oh fuck. If there's gonna be a YouTube video, and people fucking
the last
terrible.
One, to be honest, weirdly, this makes my job easier, and I'm gonna just stop editing it. I think all that fluff at the start, that's gonna stay.
I actually respect that entirely.
Yeah, that's gonna stay. I might cut off like 2 seconds of it. I might just fucking upload it. Easier, innit? It's just fucking easier. Should edit. But who gives a fuck? Unless fucking whoever does advertising wants to give us money, who gives a shit? What's one advert you wouldn't take? How low would it have to get for us not to accept?
Oh, like I don't know. Like anything.
Yeah. Or are you like, we're doing this for the craft? We're not doing it. You know, if Manscaped come along and they're like, here's, I don't know what they offer, 500 quid to do one advert. You're like, no, we're above this.
No, I'd 1000% push Manscaped. Except I'll do it. You listen to like some podcasts and they're like, they just like do the ad read. That shit. Like it's terrible. Then there's others like they try and have fun with it.
Yeah, but then we'd have to like prepare. We have to be like, oh, what are we doing fun for the advert?
Just be funnier.
Yeah,
just to learn how to be fucking funny.
That's effort.
Remember that? Remember when your brain didn't have like a low level fucking depression and just due to lack of stimulation? Remember those times?
Yeah. Well, I'd take low level now. That'd be good. That'd be good stuff. I'm usually like, as far as like I think stand-up comedians go, we're quite often depressed. I think I'm genuinely quite a chipper person. Like, you listen to the comedian and they ask, "Are you happy?" And they're always like, "No." Even like the most successful people are like, "Nah." But I'm quite a happy person. Currently, I'm not.
I'm also, I think, a pretty happy person. But I always hate like going to an open mic and seeing someone doing like the self-deprecating, like sad clown shit, but like they aren't good, like at all.
Hey, that was my first 2 years of stand-up. So don't begrudge it. My first 2 years.
Like
of stand-up
I remember,
like, I'm shit. Also, I come on everything, and it got me some paid stuff. So
yeah, can't be that shit.
I mean, not
well. Were you paid for coming on things?
They paid for coming on things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I maybe got like a tenner here and there, and then someone. To be fair, at the time, I was like, "Oh, that's really." He was like, "You shouldn't use just sexual stuff as a crux." I was like, maybe." I was like, maybe this guy doesn't know what I'm talking about." But he encouraged me to stop doing it, and now I don't really do much sexual stuff. Wall to wall satire, telling it how it is.
Man, you
also
fucking
some spaffing on tits, but
yeah. Yeah, I know the one-liners, which I am trying. I like writing them. They're basically like doing fucking Sudoku, but try and write other stuff as well. But they're so much easier if doing sexual stuff. Like it's 1,000 times easier.
I mean,
and it's easier and funnier for a lot of people.
Yeah,
and they're just kind of as good. There's just more shit there almost. I don't know, like it's easier to do the twist, but it still ends up funnier and better.
Yeah, it's because there's that added level of taboo, but not like real taboo. Like it's a social taboo, but no one's ever, unless they're like super Catholic, no one's ever going to be like, you're fucking, if they go to a stand-up comedy show, they're probably expecting someone to talk about their dick. So it kind of works. Because taboo, for some reason, is kind of funny.
It is.
Even though people, I think, I mean, this is getting fucking comedy nerdy, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of.
Where
we're digging too deep into this. If you want to move on to a different topic, or
yeah, we probably should. I was just gonna say, humor doesn't line up with morality. I did that fucking swipe.
Yeah, man. You fucking
humor doesn't lie out with morality.
Yeah, man.
Which is why Mussolini was a funny fuck. Yeah, we'll do some digging on the subject of. There hasn't been any fun GameStop stuff. That's all just crashed. So we'll talk about The Dig, the Netflix film The Dig, starring Ralph, but actually pronounced Rafe for some reason, Fiennes, and some other people.
And Carey Mulligan.
Yep.
And that's it. That's the only people I really know.
Oh, Lily James is in it, and Johnny Flynn.
Yeah, those are names.
Yeah, Johnny Flynn's in. He's going to play David Bowie in the David Bowie biopic that's going to feature no David Bowie songs.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I love that.
I feel like we talked about that before.
We talked about it on the We Can Be Heroes.
Oh yeah, we must have. So there we go. It's him who's playing David Bowie in that biopic. And Lily James from the Sky Mobile adverts, but also like Baby Driver and
yes,
something else that we talked about doing and then didn't. Rebecca, which is on Netflix with Armie
Oh yeah.
Hammer. Oh, we should do that. There's probably some Oscar-y stuff we want to do, but we should probably go back to that just because then we can talk about Armie Hammer.
Yeah, I don't even have an opinion. I see I've just been reading stuff and go like, that is so fucking bonkers. I have no idea. Like, I just don't know what to think about that. Like, it's like
I almost like.
Yeah.
I almost just can't believe it. It's so absurd.
But it's like, yeah, just shit like, what? Armie Hammer murdered 4 women in Nevada. Okay, if that's what the news is saying, like, okay,
like, yeah, okay, maybe that happened, but like
Armie Hammer
telling his girlfriend to like, remove ribs so he could barbecue them and stuff.
Yeah, and like, just what the.
Yeah, what the fuck? So Lily James, who starred in the film with him, I don't think that's his girlfriend. Well,
no.
Has she been in anything else? Maybe. Should probably look. This is probably like actual preparation I should have done.
Yeah. Well, while you do that, I'll talk about the plot line, which there's not too much to talk about. It's about Ray Fiennes plays a guy. Basil Brush, a real life, or Basil Brown, who's a real life digger. What do you call himself? Not an archaeologist, but
excavator.
An excavator. It's based on a true story of Sutton Hoo, where a woman, Edith Pretty, was like, "There's some hills on my land. I think there's things under them." And so she hired an amateur excavator to dig into those things and into the hills, and there were things under them. There was a burial site, and that's what this film's about, and that's basically what happens. Ray Fiennes comes along, starts digging, finds a thing, keeps digging, and then there's various sort of subplots happening around that. Edith Pretty is having health problems. There's an archaeologist who is unsatisfied in her love life, and there's a guy about to go off to war. It's set before World War II, but not much really happens. And I liked this film. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I really liked it. Which is why after previous things we were just like, I think we should watch something good.
Exactly. Or something. I mean,
something different. A change of pace.
Something different.
Yeah. I watched it like over a week ago now because also one of the things I could have said is Netflix Landfill is the official podcast of saying, can we do it tomorrow? Because we don't have a schedule. I saw there's other podcasts, like even amateur podcasts, being like, new episodes this Tuesday. And I'm like,
not a fucking chance.
I don't fucking know.
Not a fucking chance. Like, why stick to a schedule? Schedules are just...
Yeah.
They're made to restrict my creativity. I can't.
Look,
do that to a schedule.
If you buy into schedules, you're a victim of capitalism.
Basically.
The patriarchy, probably.
Or one of those two, probably.
Yeah. I mean, the job I'm leaving, one of the reasons I was kind of crap at my job is I'm so unorganized, which doesn't help working from home, where you've got like stuff coming in from everywhere, and you can't there's no one there to say, oh, have you done this? So you have to check. And my boss being like, hey, maybe you should put this in your diary. And I'm like, nah. Nah.
Yeah.
Fine. And that's probably why I didn't get my contract extended.
Yeah, man, it's who needs contracts? Contracts are like they're like schedules for work.
Yeah, exactly. Just fucking it's just signing up to capitalism, isn't it? It's
basically.
Subscription fee to capitalism, which doesn't really make sense as an analogy because they pay you. Well, I guess it can go the other way. I don't know. Yeah, we're not comedians.
We're just saying, basically, if you commit to literally anything, you're a fucking loser.
Yeah. I mean, we have done like 25 episodes of this now.
Put effort into things. Yeah. I think more than 25. I think we might be on like 30.
Maybe, but we don't have to schedule because we're cool.
Yeah.
Look at us. We're so cool.
Look at me. I have art in the background.
Yeah, you do.
I'm a basically I'm a collector. I'm an art collector. That's how fucking cool I am.
As I've got a laundry basket which says laundry on, just in case I forgot what it was for.
Just in case. You're like,
just in case. But what's this for?
Start using it as a bin accidentally.
Yeah.
Oh, that cloth bin in my corner.
Yeah. The reason I got it was obviously because I'm unorganized though. So I have another laundry basket. But I was like, if I get two, it means I can take one to the washing machine and still use that rather than just putting it piled up.
No. Now you can have wait twice as long before washing.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the way. I think it's just how, like, if you have, like, I was told, you were probably the same thing. We're both mathsy people, that when you do like maths in school, you just like, and you're good at it and you're above the level of it, you just like miss out all the working and you just do it, because maths is essentially like, you find efficient ways, and if you do it efficiently, it means you could be more lazy. And that's kind of my approach to life. It's just like, do things that make it, and then you can be lazier. But the problem is, I don't think that actually works in the real world. I think sometimes you have to actually do some washing.
Just work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the mindless work. Like if I haven't had it in a while, but when something's like really, really mindless, and there is no way of being smarter about it, and you can just like throw on music and some shit. Like, I find that's my meditation.
Yeah, no. One thing I really liked doing at one of my old jobs, which was the spa that we talked about in the Bridgerton episode. The one thing I liked doing there was because everyone got a pair of flip flops. I liked unpackaging them and pairing them up, and I could. And they were like, "Oh yeah, you could probably do like 8 boxes a day." I would do like 20, and they'd be like,
"Yeah."
But then I told them that aromatherapy is bullshit, and they were like, "Well, we can't have that. We can't have that infecting the flip flops, getting infected with doubt, with cynicism."
Just stolen like 2 boxes of flip flops.
Yeah. That job was also 0-hour contract, and they told me I couldn't watch the England-Sweden quarterfinal game in the World Cup. I was furious. I could hear the cheers. I mean, I still watched it on the computer.
How was the fucking big game?
Oh, what, the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fine. The old man won.
Yeah, isn't like the average like life expectancy for a quarterback like 50, and he's here like, what to say? Peyton Manning, is it?
No, Tom Brady. Peyton Manning's a different one who's really good as well.
Okay.
But he's long retired. But yeah, no, like, it used to be that a quarterback has more lifespan than any other position. Like, the average time in the, like, if you're above 30 in the NFL, that's like rare. There's not many players above 30 in the NFL. He's 43, and yeah, won his 7th Super Bowl, which is insane. It went to his 10th, and they weren't favourites for the game. To be fair, he wasn't like he played well, but like the whole team played well. Who cares? No one's listening about sport. Also, but
just a quick fucking Wikipedia. The average life expectancy for an American NFL player has been reported to be between like 53 to 59. So he's going to be fucking like dead on the field and still throwing that fucking ball around. Enjoy your retirement, man.
I think that's because like there's reasons for that. One is they're men anyway with lower life expectancy. Also, like, most positions get their heads caved in, so a lot of them go mental and shoot themselves. You get
the what's it called? The CTE?
Yeah, CTE.
I want CTE.
Yeah. I've also loads of them have money in their career and then go bankrupt and resort to dumb things. So that doesn't. I mean, that's low though. That's like Glasgow low.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, imagine the Glaswegian American football player.
American football players. Jesus Christ.
Who's fucking 12 years old and dead.
Yeah, it'd be crazy. And then the Six Nations happened, and both England and Ireland lost. So there we go.
Yeah.
Fucking Scotland. Fucking hell. No, England was shit. Anyway. The Dig.
Anyway, The Dig is a film.
The Dig.
Why did you like it? Let's start with that. Now that we have something to talk about. Now that we have a film that I think this is like, since Hubie Halloween. Before since we've been like, yeah, actually, this is above Hubie Halloween in my opinion.
This is probably,
like,
if
it's
we
a well-made
can,
film.
Probably the objectively best thing we've watched.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Like, this could definitely easily get an Oscar nom for something. I don't know what. It's one of the things. Maybe Ralph Fiennes. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's almost too. I don't want to say it's like. I don't know if the word is subtle, but I don't think almost enough. There's enough like drama, like immediate drama for an Oscar. Like it's. I don't think it's Oscar bait.
Yeah. I don't know. The Oscars kind of like stuff like this. Like, that's why Olivia Colman's like a favourite again, kind of thing. I think they just like these quaint British things. But maybe it won't. Yeah, and maybe it is just like, it is a bit subtle. I think maybe that's why I did, thinking about it, I think the reason I enjoyed it is like, it doesn't feel like there's stakes, but there is, because I guess the main conflict of the film is the fact that Basil Brown finds this thing, which is just like incredible, and like, you know, he's worked hard and this is like his big break, and then someone like essentially takes it away from him, and like fighting that, and like there's a genuine like, although it's, you know, I've been watching a few like kind of shitty films that are like, gotta save the world kind of thing, and they're just such like unreal stakes. And I'm not someone like, I think relatability is probably somewhat overrated as a thing, but you can, it's well, I mean, it's based on a true story, obviously it feels more real than the fucking Sorcerer's Apprentice with Nicolas Cage, which I watched yesterday. But when, you know, something that you work hard towards kind of gets taken away from you, and it's just like out of your control, and you just can't do anything about it. Yeah, I just like it, and just like, you know, the characters, and there's maybe they didn't focus on like, because I still not 100% sure like about the ship. Maybe they could have focused on, but maybe that's more fluff. But yeah, just the character's nice, and I guess like the mother's relationship with the kid, and him like essentially seeing Basil as a sort of father figure, like when the kid's crying because fucking, is it Edith gets cancer?
Edith.
Yeah.
Edith.
And he's like a 7-8-year-old kid, and does a really good job as like a child actor. You know, not perfect, but you believe he's like crying. You're like, you just want to give that kid a hug.
Someone gave the kid a smack before they rolled the camera.
Probably. And it's just like, you know, quite a nice sort of movie speech from Ray Fiennes, where he's just like, everything sucks, and he's just like, Ray Fiennes like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, kids, there is shit in life. Life does suck, but sometimes it's all right. It's just good. It's just nice.
Yeah,
and
I thought
it's not a perfect film, but it's nice.
I think it's sort of a perfect concept for a film, in that it's really self-contained. Everything is sort of explained, like it's, you know, it's just simple, like it's a simple event. This thing's being dug up. There's a bit of drama around it, and it's focused. I think it's a focused film on like a single topic. It doesn't feel like it's sprawling in any way, or it feels self-contained and small and nice. It's kind of like it's like the difference between, you watch some films and it's like a novel, and this is like more like a short story, where it's just it's a single idea, well executed.
Because like almost with anything, like quite often it feels like stuff is got unsaid about the ship history, but it's not really plot integral. It's just like it's fun, and they sort of touch on it a little bit. But like, I think they probably could have cut like the fucking weird love story thing with the gay archaeologist that I just didn't. I was just like, I don't know if this is good. I don't care about this.
With the woman in the fighter pilot, or
yeah,
no, I like that, because I thought so. My like take on the film is that it's kind of about like, film about death basically, and it's about like sort of what happens after you die on Earth, and like you leave shit behind that can be dug up by some dude with a metal detector, and I felt like, I felt like the that story. I've forgotten her name. She's an actual famous archaeologist herself, Peggy Piggott.
Yeah.
That sort of was a nice contrast in the sense that her story is about like making the most of now, and she has that conversation with the fighter pilot about what happens if we if we just jumped forward 500 years right now, nothing would be left of us except for, you know, a necklace and a ring. And they decide, you know, to make the most of right now. And I thought that was a nice sort of contrast to the whole idea of leaving something behind, which is what the whole archaeology thing sort of is about.
You've taught me around, Rob. You've taught me around.
I like that. And I also enjoyed the guy being absolutely repulsed by anything sexual. Her original husband being repulsed by anything.
Yeah.
Even slightly sexual, because that's, I mean, I'm a Catholic. I'm a proud Catholic. So that was like, this is a good fucking film. This is a good film. He's ashamed. That's how you're supposed to feel. Good film.
It should do. I don't know if even the real guy was gay. He's got a Wikipedia page. I could Control F. Gay. But I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't say anything. Maybe. He's got a long Wikipedia page for like a guy I thought was just like a... Yeah, it's what I hadn't heard of the Piggotts, but it seems like they both had good careers. Doing digging stuff. Also, she's like seen as one of the most attractive women in movies at the moment, like up and coming thing. So, you probably are gay if you're like, no, get away from me with those breasts. Maybe not, but I like the way that they made. I didn't realize it was Lily James at first. I was like, oh, that's an attractive but normal, believable looking woman.
You're impressed at how they made her not ugly, but uglier.
Not necessarily uglier, but like it
less
feels
attractive.
Sometimes with, I don't know, like with film, sometimes just people look other.
To go on record, I think she's still quite attractive.
Oh yeah, no, she absolutely is. She 100% is. It's more the fact that like she looks like a believable human being. As sometimes you see, even like period pieces, people just look like too hot to be real. To the point where they're no longer hot; they're just like an abstract idea of a human being.
Yeah, I get exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But it's just...
I don't, so that's good.
No, I totally... I mean, I've cried over this, don't worry. Nice. I feel you.
Yeah.
I don't think there's... Again, it's a film where there's not too much happened. The one thing that I thought would have made it more interesting is that war is approaching, World War II, and one of the characters is a young man going off to fight in the Air Force. And there isn't really the film. I don't know if we're supposed to pick up on it, or if like the film's supposed to pick up on it, or if but the film didn't really comment on like, you know, that war is bad. And I don't think every mention of war there needs to be someone going, war is bad. But I think in the context of like this whole talking about life and death, the fact that war causes like a lot of unnecessary death. And
I think they touched on that a little bit. Like you have that fighter pilot die, they try and save. They're like everyone.
I suppose actually you've convinced me. Yes, and then there's also the children playing with the gas things or the air raid things.
Yeah, I think they're all like, quite aware with it. But again, it's like subtle. Everyone's like. And it's like this over-looming thing. Like you've got these Neville Chamberlain speeches and stuff.
Yeah.
Just
yeah. Actually, you've convinced me that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. That means I like this film more.
Yeah. But they're never
the one thing
no
I
ever
was
says to him, "You're gonna die."
Yeah, exactly.
But
No, that's like
everyone's kind of like sitting around being like, "Yeah, he's probably fucked, isn't he?"
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
The one thing I was disappointed is that when Mr. Brown went back to his wife, it wasn't played by Brendan Carroll, and he didn't have a group of boys with him.
Oh yeah, the Mrs. Brown boys. Is that what you wanted?
That'd be great. That would have made this film better if Basil Brown's wife was Mrs. Brown.
Yeah. Oh, that's one moment that I did really like from this film. Me being a sort of country bumpkin, was when the kid Robert cycles out because Basil's like, "Fuck this, I'm gone," because he's like really sad, and then like because Robert's been hanging out, really interested in that stuff. He like cycles out, tries to find him, and then like Basil and his wife are like, "The fuck are you doing here?" But they're like super nice to him. And you just kind of you get like if you get lost in the country, you will just find strangers that nice.
Yes.
In the city, they're like, strangers will fuck you and rape you. In the countryside, it's like, yeah, they'll probably help you out.
Yeah. They didn't have any stranger danger in like the 1940s or 1930s.
We were like, our school things were like, strangers are fine, but be scared of rabies. That was our educational videos. No, I think we definitely had, but it's all like, yeah, in the countryside.
Do you still have rabies in the UK?
Maybe.
I think they've eliminated. I think maybe I'm crazy. I think rabies has been eliminated from Ireland.
Maybe, just because, like snakes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not gonna look it up. Let's just say rabies is no more.
Yeah. Rabies is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
It's if you don't get a jab. Oh yeah, it sounds like babies and scabies, and scabies also sounds like a funny disease.
Yeah.
But if you don't get like it's like 5 of the most painful, like it's like a fucking needle just in your abdomen, and it's like 5 shots, and if you don't get them in like 12 hours, it's just like, okay, you're dead. You're 1000% dead. So something like 3 people. There's like 3 recorded instances of people surviving rabies.
Yeah. Well, they're just crazy fuckers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just liked countryside vibe. It's weird hearing because I've not really heard, because it's set in Suffolk, which is like East Anglia, but you sort of hear it first glance, and Ray Fiennes' accent, you're like, wait, is that a West Country accent? But I think they sound like similar, but there's a couple of things you can tell they're like slightly different.
Yeah, the accent seemed like good to me in terms of like it didn't seem bad.
Yeah, apparently
it seemed like well done.
Yeah,
maybe if you're from the area, you'd be like, no, that's fucking terrible. He's rolling his R's too much or some other bullshit.
Well, apparently he grew up in Suffolk like really early on in his life, so which is probably why. Yeah. Mind you, it's quite a big cast, but he probably didn't necessarily have to do this film. It's probably like he wanted to do it.
I thought he was
in Suffolk.
Well, I thought he was good. I thought Carrie Mulligan was good.
I
thought like just good, and she carried the whole illness thing well. Again, they don't really make it clear what that is. It's like she had pneumonia as a child.
Yeah, I think it was cancer, wasn't it? Something.
I don't think it was. I think it was she had pneumonia as a child, and it's weakened her, and now she's weak. So again, like
to be her.
Yeah, and
well,
I don't really think. I think that's like kind of the film. I think it's worth watching, even if you haven't watched it, and for whatever reason you're sitting here watching this. Just because I think, it touches on things in like subtle, nice ways that I enjoyed.
Yeah. Well, one other thing I've just remembered I want to talk about is there's lots of like English idioms and slang that like just feel like totally, even like where I'm from, like they're not used. It's something like, I can't remember like some of the phrase, but like where it's like it begun then or something like that, and just like a few things like that. They didn't sanitize that at all. They just like it feels like someone just speaking like the native dialects, and they could have like went, no, let's just make it Queen's English. Yes. But they didn't, and I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think I know what the word I was kind of looking for with the whole self-contained thing. This film felt theatrical, not in the sense of like this grand theatrical thing, but it felt like it could be you could put this on in the theater and not modify that much, and it would work.
Yeah, because you got the shit like where they're digging as one major setting.
Yeah.
And just like some houses and stuff. That's pretty much it. And you could do other stuff. So like I said, well, all right. I guess the thing we've got to talk about is Carey Mulligan. Her casting is criticised because she's like 25 years younger than Edith Pretty.
Oh.
And so lots of people brought that up as like ageism in the movie industry. What are your thoughts, Rob? To put you on the spot.
I don't know. I don't find... It's hard to say, because it's hard to be like... were the older people apply, and were they better? That's my kind of thing, is that's the sort of thing I have no problem with someone taking artistic liberty with. If they're like, actually, do you know what? Like, this person's better, and so we'll just move it around. But at the same time, there's no denying that there is like it is easier, I think, to be an older, like it's much easier to be an older man and find work in the film, but like a top billing, I suppose, work in the film industry. Well, but it's this thing where like people point to individual instances and they say, this is an example of this. And it's like, you can't really say that. What's more like worthwhile is doing like a systematic review of like 100 films, and then you're like, see patterns, and then you're like, okay, yeah, like there's clearly something here. But drilling down onto the individual level, I'm never like extremely convinced on like the individual level. Like it's just it's, there's sort of percentages there. It's like, okay, maybe there's like an 80% chance they chose her just because she's younger. There's like a 20% chance that she was just the best, for instance. And that's too big of a percentage for me to like just dismiss, even if there's like I lean one way or lean the other. Does that make sense? Or do I hate old people?
Yeah.
Am I a filthy ageist?
I definitely agree with you on like the anecdotal evidence stuff, and it's always difficult because we're both cold, hard, rational, logical pricks. But obviously, like anecdotal things can be quite emotional issues, especially when it's like to do with sort of politics, morality, philosophy. But it's difficult to make a case from just one piece of anecdotal evidence. But if I was saying, I reckon there probably is definitely ageism against particularly women in the film industry. And I guess this is just like a really obvious example of that. But yeah, without checking, and all sorts of stuff going on, and they probably love Carey Mulligan as an actor.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Fundamentally, I'm not psychic.
Yeah.
Like I can look at a range of films and like an analysis of that and go like, oh yeah, there's definitely a fucking pattern here. But to pick into one and then try and read into people's sort of like the casting director of this film's psyche, I can't do that.
Yeah, it's just one of the main things I've seen about this, and I think I think it's kind of a fair criticism when like if especially when Ralph Fiennes is there and hasn't been aged out. I think it's like fair to criticize it. Whether
he was even like aged up a little. He looked pretty old in this, like older than I think. Maybe he's just aged since.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've seen him in like The Constant Gardener.
Yeah, I feel like Ray Fiennes could be anywhere between 40 and 65. How old is he? Because I feel like he might be younger than you think. Scrolling down.
He is 58.
There you go. Yeah, so he's older than
and from Ipswich.
Yeah, which is Suffolk. So
yes,
just outside. I think he moved to like Germany. I think I was looking it up just after, but yeah. So he spent the early years of life because they talk about like one of the I guess conflicts is like where does this go? Does it go to the Ipswich Museum or the British Museum or does it stay there? Kind of thing. Which it's good shit.
Yeah, it's just like a little conflict.
Yeah,
and it's a conflict that makes sense. It's not outlandish. I mean, ultimately, it goes to it's a big thing, and so it's not exactly like, it's not some tense. Oh, where's it going to go? It's obvious once they realize the scale. It's going to go to the British Museum. It's just like a little bit of something that adds like a little bit of character.
Yeah, but like everyone's kind of. It's good because there's this like disappointment, and that almost is unusual, I think, in a film. It's like something if you work on like a project, like I imagine so many people experience like working on a project and it gets taken away from you. Like the only example of like disappointment in film is like the trope of when the police are there and then suddenly the FBI turn up and be like, "This is our case now." That's like the only equivalent thing I think of films.
Because if the FBI showed up and was like,
so
we're taking over this dig.
Yeah, and normally if that is there, it's like, no, there is something like that. No, we're going to win it back. But they never. Everyone kind of like knows that that's just what it is now.
Yeah, that's like and it's,
the government got involved. It's
and it makes sense. That's also like when there's a moment where they're like, well, it's on your land, so it belongs to you. I was like, I don't agree with that logic at all. And like the film plays out that like, yeah, no, you can't just own like just because it's on your land. It's too important for that. Like it's, and that's ultimately how that's resolved.
Yeah,
like it just sort of like there's this conflict. It has an obvious resolution, and it's resolved in how you think it is. But it's kind of like it's like the British Bake Off as a film where it's just there's this there is like tensions, but they don't really matter. And it's the more overarching feel of it and the larger points that it touches on, the themes of life and death and leaving stuff behind after you're gone, that really matter. And it does them well. And I liked it.
I liked it too.
I think this is the longest we've spoken about a film. Like as in, like actually going in the plot, saying why we liked it, reasons, like actually like there's almost a structure to this now, because we've become fucking losers enjoying something.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if this is
and not going off on tangents every like 5 seconds because talking about I don't know what your favorite fucking flavor of crisps is more fun than talking about the Christmas Prince or whatever the fuck.
One thing, I guess, interesting about this, I did know, I forgot, that I brought up the Carey Mulligan thing. Originally, it was going to be Nicole Kidman.
Okay.
Who probably is more
How old is Nicole Kidman?
Older.
I know. Okay.
53, so she probably would have been, like, bang on. But,
okay. Yeah, that sort of thing. I don't know, what does that mean? What does that mean? And like, again, there could have been some shadowy producer be like, no, she's not. She's too fucking old. And that's how it gets it. Or she could have just been like, oh, no, I have other arrangements. And so they're like, okay, well, here's the second best person or whatever. I don't know.
I don't know.
Man.
There you go. Just an interesting tidbit that
it's okay to not know things.
No, it's not. If I've learned anything from this pandemic, it's like you have to have all the answers. Uncertainty doesn't exist.
All that. The general attitude you get from some people of just like, I just read an article about this, so I actually know everything right now. I've known this my entire life. The amount of people who became immunologists, the amount of people who became fucking experts on like the transmission of disease and shit.
Yeah, it's one thing that I think definitely needs more focus in school, and you become more aware of it. Being it's like I quite like sport analytics, and they talk about this quite a lot, but it's not something that's talked about a lot. Is like there's a range of outcomes of stuff, and like loads of unknowns and loads of variables, and like even now we don't. I think people now come around to it like I don't know. But at the start, everyone was like, "This is what's gonna happen."
Mm-hmm.
That I blame humanity subjects because they tell you like to write a good essay, you can't sit on the fence. And then really what science is like you're either 100% sure about something and like it is like this, or you're like, I don't fucking know. Maybe it'll be like this, but maybe it'll be like this. And we don't know. Like that the whole thing of like I think that was the frustrating thing of like people see science as this like fountain of knowledge, but when the science was going with the pandemic, and it was like scientists being like that, you had scientists saying wildly different things, and because the ones that are like it's going to be like this, they're the ones that get grabbed by the headline. It's like if you're, it's never going to be on the front page of the Sun. Scientists going, well, it could be bad, but it could be fine, or it could just be sort of in the middle. That's not going to grab headlines.
Yeah, and it's also
when economists say stuff as well. Like it will be like one economist said the country is doomed, or someone like economists, they fucking say anything.
Well, yeah, I think economists economists are more like nakedly ideological, where it's like you can put two economists in a room and they will both claim that they have mathematical proof that like the two opposite things are true, and they're like, no, I've proven it mathematically. And it's like, no, like clearly, like that's just impossible. Like you can't say, oh, I've proven fucking interest rates will go up because of this, and someone else says I've proven interest rates will go down. Like that's not how proofs work. There can't be that internal contradiction.
No, I think to do an experimental proof.
And then I also think science. I don't think science is like perfect in the sense that trust me, I'm closer to it. I think there's a scientific ideal that I think's pretty cool, pretty sick, or whatever. But it gets corrupted by like academia has sort of perverse incentives, and like the research and development sort of points in certain directions, and that's where if there's money in some way, people swing towards that direction. And then like the quality of the research, like things get published, but there can be like holes. Like just because something's published doesn't really mean it's worthwhile or good or true or anything.
That's a really good point of like, something, because something might be legitimately public. Like one thing I found out recently was like, and someone said, oh, this is a thing that's true, was that if you eat meals from like smaller plates, you get, your mind thinks you're full because you eat it all up, but you've eaten less food and you lose weight. And like the results in that paper supported that, but no one's been able to replicate it since.
Yeah, but that's because that's like,
and it's like
that's like psychology, which is the dirt. Like it's not science.
But like if it's it's like it's science if like you have like evidence, but no one could like repeat that evidence, which is like and like. That's the thing. It's like the original people didn't, and when this sort of thing happens, like with homeopathy, you get the golden hand thing. Like they can only do it, but like this thing, they didn't necessarily do anything wrong. It's just that their sample size wasn't good. Their research. There's a problem with doing research on people. It's very difficult to get like big, reasonable sample sizes, and then especially with economics, is like what experiment can you do? The only experiment you can do is like someone does a thing and it goes in the year. In the future, but then there's so many variables. Like, when people say the UK should be like the Nordic countries, it's like, well, the UK is like 4 times the population of those combined, with different layups and in different makeups and stuff. It's like one thing works for somewhere, and it might work. I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying it's not.
Yeah, but the point is that there's like. So those economists aren't like those economists saying that, like, they've decided beforehand.
Yeah.
Like economics is like a fucking dirt science. Like it's a dirt fucking science. That you go in with like your effectively political. You're basically political, and then you're like, oh, and I can prove it, and I make these assumptions, and that shit. So they could be right. Like, yeah, as you say, but it's just really, really nakedly ideological. But yeah, and there's like a replication crisis in psychology, where like if you choose like 50% of like the top papers, let alone like the dirt papers that get published, 50% of the top papers can't be replicated. In computer science, there's a replication crisis. People don't talk about it because it's like AI is the hot buzzword, but a lot of these artificial intelligence papers have like really, really fundamental kind of flaws, and they can't be replicated.
Yeah, I mean,
which
I'm not gonna write a paper because that's lame, but I'm gonna sort of talk about a thing in rugby, for instance. Yeah. That like maybe someone will come with more. I mean, it's probably more mathematically concrete, but yeah, it's not complicated. Like, it's easy to look at and stuff, but it might be different. But say, hey, restarts aren't an even way of starting the game. There's actually a slight advantage to one team over the other.
Yeah, but that's easy. That's more like that's something that's like better for that statistical analysis is like suited for, and so it makes sense to use it there.
But like even then, like people like there might be, hey, in this league it's completely different, and you might be like, ooh,
yes.
But that's when do it like one. I mean, this is going into the rugby thing. How much do you know about rugby, Rob? I don't
think not too much. I did spend the summer in New Zealand following the Lions.
Oh, there you
go. But yeah, I watched some Super Rugby. Watched some of the matches. Kind of got into it. I know what a ruck is.
Nice. Yeah.
I know what a scrum.
What Super Rugby team did you watch mainly?
The Highlanders.
Nice. They're cool. The Otago Highlanders. So you're in Dunedin.
I wasn't in Dunedin. Like, I just watched them on the television. Like, but no, they were my team because I thought a New Zealand team calling themselves a Scottish thing kind of funny, because there is a connection between Dunedin and Edinburgh.
Yeah, Dunedin means Edinburgh in like Celtic, Gaelic, one of them. So yeah, you're in Dunedin now. It was Dunedin to Dunedin, so that's why they're called the Highlanders. And I think there's a lot of like Scottish immigration to New Zealand. Because I think you can trace some of the slang. I think listening to New Zealand podcasts, they're like, yeah, we've got a lot of Scottish ancestry. So I think it's like a name that makes sense. The Crusaders kept their name, but they changed their badge to looking like two penises. They changed because it was like a knight in armor, and then they had that terrorist attack. I'm like, no, we can't keep this. Even though everyone was like, it's fine. It's like, who cares? But then they changed it anyway. But they kept the name. So I don't know. But yeah, the rugby thing,
it does. It genuinely actually.
Yeah, it looks like two penises touching. Yeah,
that's not even like close.
No,
like, sorry, it's not even not close. Apologies. I thought you were exaggerating. That's,
no. It's who greenlit that? I don't know. But yeah, the rugby thing essentially. So I found it, and I was like, this can't be true, and we need to change the sample size. But then someone looked at a different league and looked at it and went, holy shit, I must have done this wrong. It was like penalty. If you kick a penalty is worth 3 points, right? It turns out there's zero correlation between points scored and penalties scored, which is like, how does that work when penalties are worth 3 points?
Yeah,
and it's
if you get points by scoring penalties,
like, because tries are worth 5 or 7 points depending on if you get the conversion, and the coefficient of correlation is like 0.96 or whatever, so like a very strong correlation. And then with that, it like doesn't correlate, and you're like, what the how?
Yeah.
So I found it with one.
So the maths is wrong, is what you're saying? Is that maths is not right? Maths is stupid and dumb.
Maybe, but someone else did it as well with a different league, and they found the same thing. So like maybe there's something in it, but like your natural reaction is to be like, no, that must be wrong, because that doesn't make sense, because it literally, if you score a penalty, that leads to points. Surely they correlate.
So there must be like some negative correlation between tries scored and penalties scored.
This is the thing.
So like, the more tries you get, the less likely you are to get a penalty?
I think it's, well, the more penalties you score, you're probably less likely to score tries. And that's the thing, is like, when you like think about it more, it's like penalties are, even though they're worth 3 points, you're also sacrificing quite often the opportunity to go for 7.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also from the restart then, which is the thing I want to talk about, is like it then maybe gives the other team like a higher chance of scoring then, which obviously, like, if they're going down the pitch into your territory, it takes time out of the game for them, more likely to score. So you're like giving, so it's a weird one, but that's what happened in, I think it's like the 1999 Physics Nobel Prize. I can't remember the name of it, but essentially it's like these people who observed, I'm not comparing myself to a Physics Nobel Prize winner, by the way, I'm sharing, it's a similar thing.
You're saying you're the exact same.
I'm the exact same.
Is there a Nobel Prize in bullshit about rugby?
No, unfortunately not. But they found like the rate of expansion of the universe was accelerating, which went totally against, like, because everyone was like, oh, either it's going to contract because gravity's going to pull it closer in, and then they found it's accelerating, and they were like, well, we must have just done this wrong, because it was like, they published the paper, and then everyone went, no, this looks legit, and then they won a Nobel Prize, and that's why dark energy is from, which is fun. So yeah, that sometimes publishing something is good, and that's why science should work, is it should get peer reviewed, and if it doesn't work, you like, people have to reciprocate that. You can't just use one paper. And like, yeah, especially with the coronavirus, things were moving so quickly, and like everyone wanted to grab headlines that they're just like, well, this person said this, so this is what we believe now. And it's just like, and like, to be fair, I saw it from like lots of sports people on Twitter that I suggest. They were like, hey, I'm gonna have my hand at being an immunologist and tracking the stats and stuff. And it's like, you don't know. It's just who knows?
Yeah.
And we don't even know now. It's going to be like 10 years time before we're like, oh yeah, no, the UK was really fucked, or like, actually it was, you know, kind of what you'd expect. I don't know.
Yeah.
The UK might be, probably is bad, but like how stats are kept and stuff is like not uniform either, which is a whole other problem with stats that I was talking today about on Twitter, is that like two people, even if you give them like, hey, you're counting red cars on a street, they might have a different definition of what a red car is. It's like, and so you get different things, even though the results should be the same and they should count the same thing, they don't necessarily count the same thing, and that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Stats.
It's like people were like, holy fuck, Belgium is doing atrocious. But then people were like, no, it's because they just have a much, much more lenient definition of what counts as like a COVID death. And they're trying to be much hard, like they're trying to do a much better job counting all of them.
Yeah, well, that's what the UK does as well. It's like death within 28 days of a positive case, which is why like anti-lockdown people are like, oh, that means you could get hit by a car. But then it's like the deaths of road deaths in the UK are like when it was happening a month ago, I think I made a sarky Instagram post about how it was like the COVID deaths that week were like the equivalent of UK road deaths, or like it might have even been a couple of days. So it's like, yeah, maybe not all of these people are getting hit by cars. Maybe there's some legitimate people dying.
It would be fucked if there was a pandemic of people getting hit with cars.
Yeah.
It'd be fucked if that just that exploded for some reason.
If people getting hit by cars increases exponentially, then we're fucked.
Yeah.
Will that even work?
Fuck.
Just someone gets hit by a car and they both turn into cars. Wear cars.
Or like the episode of Futurama.
Yeah, episode of Futurama. Exactly.
Good episode.
So we go for some. I have no idea how we got onto the philosophy of science and the coronavirus.
I don't know either, but I like the dig, which is about history, which is also a thing you can study at university. So it's related.
But don't do.
That's how it's related to science.
Yeah. Although my history teacher said she was the best. I was the best student she ever taught, and I only got an A. I'm furious about it to this day. I was like,
is that what? Did you say A star?
Yeah, I thought shoe in A star. Same with religious education. I did long course where I got a whole GCSE in that. Only freaks do that, but I did it. I enjoyed it. I was like, yeah, you'll get an A star. You're good at this, and I only got an A. I was furious. Furious.
Yeah. And how's that held you back in life?
I mean, I can't. I didn't pursue my career as a priest. I didn't join the church.
Didn't go to the seminary.
No.
And
So I did history at AS level though, but I just didn't. I think I got a C in it because I just did not turn up. I did revise. It was about 60s though, which is weirdly cool. I think. Or was it? I can't remember if I enjoyed it.
The 60s and
yeah, it was like the UK,
like the
in
British
60s
or just
did stuff about Twiggy. Maybe it wasn't that interesting. You did like Stalin, Hitler, and Mussolini, and then you're like, oh yeah, the swinging 60s. That's what you did in AS level. Weird mix. I don't know why.
There's so obviously World War II is so important, but the amount that history dedicates to it, like school history, I don't know. Maybe it's I don't know.
I think, especially
it's obviously this incredibly historically important event, like obviously and recently, and is probably is definitely the event from the 20th century that has had the biggest impact on. That still has the biggest impact today, but
apart from
no, it's maybe it's like a little. I don't know, just a little bit less. I think in Ireland you do the Troubles and stuff quite heavily. Yeah. But then I think you'd spend an entire year on World War II.
It wasn't
a ludicrous amount of time. Yeah, we're kind of neutral. We were only a country for 16 years when it started, and so we didn't have a fucking standing army or anything.
Look, yeah.
So you occasionally get fucking British knobheads on Twitter using you were neutral in the war as a cudgel. It's no, what the fuck? You didn't fight in the war. some fucking 105-year-old British dude fought in the war. And also it's it made sense. And also war is bad, fuck you. Even if it
war is bad. There we go. That's the official stance of the podcast.
That's how we'll end this.
Although, what if it leads to more peace, though, Rob?
Then I don't know. Then peace is bad.
Yeah,
it's caused by war, and war is bad.
Fuck war. Fuck peace. Yeah, the most peaceful time in European history, right after World War II. What does that say? Peace is bad.
Exactly.
Peace retroactively causes war. I think that's the thing with World War II is that's why it's in this, is especially when I was a kid, I guess my grandparents were kids when it was happening. You do a disproportionate amount of stuff in primary school. I think to, again, make it relatable, they do the evacuees, which doesn't mean anything when you're a country kid anyway. But they're oh yeah, kids from the city had to go out and live in the country. Oh, so they had to come out and live here. Okay.
But they had to suffer the indignity of living in Ipswich.
Yeah. But that's how The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe starts, is they're London kids who get shipped out. So it's a thing. And that's
good Catholic book.
Oh, yeah, of course. So I think you can kind of, maybe less now, because now 20 years on, like there's a lot less people who, especially like people who thought in the war, like. But when I was like a kid in like the early noughties, like there was people who fought in the war, and like a lot of people had grandparents who were like kids in the war and stuff. So it's probably, so I imagine it will like wane a little bit.
Yeah.
Like and like the reason why World War One is like taught less, partly because it's more complicated. Like World War Two is easier to teach because it's like Hitler fucking maniac. World War One,
yeah,
like, the world happened.
Yeah,
Franz Ferdinand. I don't know.
Well, World War Two is like the British, like can say like, oh yeah, we were the fucking good guys. Like they were the good guys. World War One, you can't say that. Everyone was the bad guy in World War One.
Yeah, it was. World War One was just like this weird, like just everything boiled.
It was just a colonial clusterfuck.
Yeah,
like it wasn't, But World War Two was like, no, there was a baddie. It was the most sort of it's. Even though it was not moral, it's not like a morally simple thing war ever. World War II is probably like one of the most like morally straightforward. Like, oh no, that's the bad one. Like that guy there, like 1000% is the bad guy.
Yeah.
And even for wars that like are, modern, like these modern American wars where the justifications are extremely fucking flimsy. Like even those are like slightly less morally clear cut than World War II.
Yeah, stopping Hitler.
Stopping Hitler.
That's why Vietnam's really interesting, because it is like it's like in living memory of a lot of people, but like looking back on it, it does appear like it was America probably were the bad guys, but everyone.
I'm sorry, I think America were 1000% the bad guys in Vietnam. Like, but it's incredibly the bad guys.
It's like a weird thing, like socio-political thing to look onto. It's like our old idea of war is like everyone, like World War One and World War Two, everyone did their part. As like that, I think is weird as well, because it's like America were probably the bad guys, but like a lot of American soldiers were like, well, this is dumb, and American people were like, well, this is dumb.
Yeah, exactly. Like there was definitely like a Vietnamese. It's cool how much stuff is like archived from that, because there was a anti-war movement.
Yeah.
In America, and you can like see the arguments, and it's like it's so weird how kind of banal the arguments like against the war are, where it's like people coming on and being like, oh no, this is clearly like atrocious and like morally reprehensible, and then it's like a guy going like, what the fuck are you gonna do about it? Like kind of like, but these things happen, and what are you gonna do about it? And it's like that's what like the prevailing that won, like effectively. Yeah. That's what kept the war going, is just like, you're a pussy and shut up, Noam Chomsky. How about that? And Noam Chomsky. And Noam Chomsky goes like, yeah, I guess I am. Yeah.
Lots of people have friends of the podcasts. We have enemies of the podcast. Noam Chomsky. Fuck you.
Oh man, have you seen Noam Chomsky recently?
No, I don't know a lot about him, to be fair.
Well, okay, he's old and he's just he looks like he's on death's door.
This is what led to ageism in Hollywood, is people like you being like, look how fucking he looks like shit.
Man,
shit. Let's get Kerry Mulligan in. Mulligan to play Noam Chomsky.
Exactly. Yeah, we need to. Noam, we want to do a biopic about your life, but we need to sex you up a little.
Yeah.
How about we make you a considerably younger woman? He's 92.
Yeah, fair play. What can you do about that? Right. Yeah. I think
we're done.
Yeah,
so let's
done.
I think end on that note.
Yeah,
Noam Chomsky is 92.
Noam Chomsky is 92. Fuck Noam Chomsky.
Yeah.
See you next week.
See ya.
I reckon News of the World next week before we go. I don't know if it's out yet, but Tom Hanks, I think it's an Oscar bait thing.
Can I say, how much fucking easier it is to have a conversation with you when the like Zoom lag isn't like a second long.
Oh yeah, the Zoom
and it makes it's like way. It's been the Facebook was shit. Google Meet was shit. Our first Zoom meeting was terrible. I watched the video when you were like, you took way too long to reply, and I was like, no, I didn't. I took like half a second, and it was like 3 seconds long. Yeah. But it wasn't on my end. I fucking swear.
Well, we don't need this in the podcast.
Anyway,
all right, fuck Noam Chomsky.
Talk to you on
Goodbye.
Godspeed. Goodbye.